Chanupa Hanska shares his inspiration.
So much of this clay building is by feel and less by what I'm actually seeing. So I used to zone out, and I'd be working on a piece using my hands, but staring off into the studio, the other students working, and not really paying attention to what my eyes were falling on. And many a time got the, what are you looking at? What are you looking at?
What inspires you to work as an artist?
Communication, desire to talk, and that the ideas are open-ended, which is what's important to me. That the communication that I desire isn't textbook truths, it's honesty and it's sincerity. I find truth to be really rigid and fragile, whereas honesty and sincerity has a level of pliability, plasticity. It's flexible. What humans bring to the table, they tend to project, you know, and I totally do it myself. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. I like that idea. It reminds me of storytelling. You know, of more of an oral tradition than a written history. Oral traditions can have amazing, fantastic themes and ideas and characters in them. You know, something that you don't quite understand can become a fiery beast, you know, or a darkness can become some hidden monster, you know, and it's all real. You know, it may not be true, but it's all real.
Right.
And I find art making it comes from that same desire to communicate a complex idea, reduce it down to its like purest form, and then let that go and be a part of the world and allow the viewer to retell that story.
Some of your artwork is animals. What can animals teach us about communicating with each other or teach us about ourselves?
Oh man, we forget that we are animals. And I think in that process, we lose a lot of our humanity by not realizing that we are a part of this place. I like the idea of creating these animal forms and really kind of reducing down what's there so that you're left with the core of what the animal is, you know?
Sure.
And as a way to almost like reverse personify, so animalize things,
Yeah,
you know, animalize the viewer,
Us,
you
yes.
know, yeah, and like if you can relate to, you know, this fox eating a pheasant or something along those lines, then you can understand more about yourself than if you turn the animal human.
So tell us about your series, Once Upon a Time, There Were Humans.
I wanted to create this idea of a far future where humans no longer exist and the animals are still there, but they've dug up things of humans. They found things, traces of our existence, a lot like anthropologists and archaeologists are doing now.
Right, right.
And then they create this whole mythos around what these humans were up to. And I like this idea of them like creating a whole almost theology around this missing species.
Would you share some of your impetus for Stereotypes, that series?
It was really cathartic for me as an artist and as a contemporary Native American person, human in the world. I saw the negative effect of stereotype, but then I also saw that at its core, stereotyping is it's an attempt to understand something you don't understand. Now, the problem that I found was that when you stop at the stereotype and you're no longer working beyond the understanding, actually communicating to somebody, but just be like, well, that's the stereotype and I'm comfortable with that, you know?
Right.
I understand, you know? So that idea.
I know everything I need to know.
I know everything I need to know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No need to go to the source.
Yeah, yeah, there's no need, you know?
Right.
So that was kind of what I was thinking about. The other thing that I thought about was that the stereotypes are very cerebral. The stereotypes are ideas, and it's really hard to destroy an idea. So my concept for the show was to actually bind native stereotypes, because this is the lens that I live in, come up with kind of the root of these stereotypes and bind them to ceramic boomboxes, so a type of stereo. My concept was that they are now subject to entropy. These things, these ideas are bound to something physical. And the physicality of it, the object of it, is now fragile. It can now break. I didn't want to act on it in an aggressive format, because it perpetuates it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you aggressively attack these stereotypes and you're reinforcing them because you are projecting so much more emotional value on how they affect you. But if you just take the thing, describe it, let it be seen, and then let it go. The universe loves destroying things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so natural.
Entropy.
Creation is perfect. Everything else, entropy. It was really interesting, actually, because I used a rock. So I'm in a museum. They've got nice floors. I didn't want to drop these ceramic vessels onto their floor, so I went out into the sculpture garden of the museum and found a rock. And it was funny because in that process, I realized that that rock was the thing. I was like, the whole show I did was just for example. But the learning that I got out of it was, be like that rock. That's how you destroy stereotypes. You were absolutely what you are.
What's important to you about your work?
The process, the making. I love that part. And I will obsessively do that part regardless of appreciation. The actual objects, the commodity of the art making, is what's left over from this process of me making. But it's interesting, because I work in clay, I recognize the fact that once these things are fired, they will never be clay again. They have gone through a chemical change, you know, quartz inversion, and now they are ceramic, and they will be ceramic forever, you know, beyond that time. They'll never be what they were. And I think about that as far as what I'm leaving in the world. It's going to outlive me. There may be some distant future where some other species that's dominant is digging up these pieces and trying to understand what the human experience was. And I want to talk about the experience that I know of, this experience of now, you know.